It's near impossible to list the top 5 rappers in the game without mentioning NBA YoungBoy. The Baton Rouge rapper has successfully placed 15 albums on the Billboard chart, including 4 EPs, a feat no other artist has accomplished. He's the only artist to have charted as many albums of newly recorded material in that same span of time. The highly prolific rapper has attracted a loyal following for his uncompromising street narratives and has made a name for himself in the music industry, but things were not always rosy for the young rapper. In this video, we'll be taking a look at some events in NBA YoungBoy's past and career that should make other rappers scared. Upbringing. Kentrell Deshaun Gaulden, better known by his stage name YoungBoy Never Broke Again, or NBA YoungBoy, was born on the 20th of October 1999 in East Baton Rouge Parish, Louisiana. At a pretty young age, NBA YoungBoy knew he wanted to be a rapper, and by the age of 7, inspired by his mom, who herself briefly rapped, he started writing and making music. And by the time he was 14, NBA YoungBoy walked into a Walmart store to buy himself a microphone, the very first microphone he used to start recording. He was so taken with the experience that he began sharing his work with his friends and gained a lot of momentum as a local rapper in his hood. For most of his life, NBA YoungBoy was raised mainly by his maternal grandmother. When he was 8, his father was arrested and sentenced to 55 years in prison for a robbery gone wrong, and his mother moved out of the neighborhood, leaving YoungBoy with his grandmother. School was a struggle for NBA YoungBoy, so he dropped out in the 9th grade and began focusing on his rap career. After dropping out, he got in contact with his mother and told her he wanted to try being a professional musician full-time. In an interview, he said, "I wanted to be a rapper, and I couldn't focus and do that. I didn't even have clothes for that. I felt like I wasn't smart enough, so what the f am I there for?" Not long after he dropped out, he was arrested and sent to a detention center in Tallulah, Louisiana. His role in the crime was jumping out of a car and opening fire on a group of people. Initially, he was charged with attempted murder, but he pled guilty to the lesser charge of aggravated assault with a firearm and was released on $50,000 bail pending sentencing. Considering he was only 17 at the time, as is the practice in Louisiana, one of 9 states in the US where 17-year-olds can be charged as adults. While he was locked up, NBA YoungBoy became more inspired to better himself while he was serving time by pursuing his dreams to become a successful rapper. While he was in jail, he started working on his mixtapes, and by the time he was out, he had 2 mixtapes full of hits. He released his first mixtape in 2015, Life Before Fame, followed by Mind of a Menace, then Mind of a Menace 2 and 3. Shortly after he got out of the detention center, tragedy struck again. His grandmother, who practically raised him, died of a heart failure, and he had to move in with his friend OG 33. 33's family took him in, and in a bid to fund their career, both of them got into all sorts of trouble. At some point, they stole car batteries out of 18-wheelers and sold them in the hopes of paying for time in the studio. Rise to fame. As NBA YoungBoy kept grinding, his fan base grew steadily in the region, but his numbers exploded with the release of the video for 38 Baby, a song from his 38 Baby album named for the street where YoungBoy grew up. The tape even had a couple of big names in the game, like Boosie Badass and Kevin Gates. Having that affiliation and local talent helped to continue getting the word out about the talented teenager. By 2017, NBA YoungBoy was soaring. He released a video for his song 41, which featured many A-list rappers like Meek Mill, Young Thug, Yo Gotti, and 21 Savage. He also released his mixtape AI YoungBoy, which began charting almost immediately, landing on number 24 on the Billboard charts. The rapper's track No Smoke also charted at number 61 on Billboard. Shortly after the release of No Smoke, NBA YoungBoy announced that he would be going on tour to promote the album, a decision that worked in his favor. The young rapper picked up more traction the following year when he announced he was releasing his first studio album, Until Death Called My Name. This came after he signed his first record deal with Atlantic Records. In February 2020, YoungBoy released his mixtape, Still Flexin', Still Steppin', which debuted at number 2 on the US Billboard 200, becoming his second highest charting album after his 2019 number 1 album, AI YoungBoy 2. Following that, he released the mixtape, 38 Baby 2, debuting at number 1 on the Billboard 200. In August of the same year, YoungBoy announced the release of a third album, titled Top, which was released on September 11th. The album debuted at number 1 on the Billboard 200 and became his third number 1 album in under 1 year. At this point in his career, you can't even notice the charts without seeing his name featured on a song. As a rapper, NBA YoungBoy was not only collaborating with some of the greats, but all his music is well written and came from a place of someone who has lived countless lifetimes before the age of 21. But with his quick success, the rapper still found himself hitting rough patches. NBA YoungBoy has had a couple of run-ins with the law, and the crimes he's booked for should make other rappers scared of this new kid on the block. Legal issues. Since NBA YoungBoy started gaining fans, he's been running into one form of trouble or another. His first run-in with the law was in November 2016 when U.S. Marshals arrested him before a concert in Austin, Texas, accusing him of jumping out of a vehicle and opening fire on a group of people on a South Baton Rouge street. Golden was charged with 2 counts of attempted murder. As a high-profile artist, NBA YoungBoy was asked if he felt targeted by the police. He replied by saying, "I don't think they really target, but if you got a name, they know who you is. You do something, they're gonna come get you. And whoever you're with and whatever they do, you're accountable for it just because you got the biggest name. That's how that go." He faced 2 counts of attempted first-degree murder, but pleaded guilty to a reduced charge of aggravated assault with a firearm. He was eventually sentenced to a suspended 10-year prison term and 3 years of active probation. He managed to stay clear, but not long after, on May 2019, NBA YoungBoy was in Florida to perform at the Rolling Loud Music Festival. After the show, NBA YoungBoy and his crew were exiting the Trump International Beach Resort when a black Cadillac Escalade drove up and opened fire. YoungBoy's entourage returned fire, but not before his then-girlfriend, Kaylin Long, was hit and needed hospital care fast. After realizing Long was injured, YoungBoy put her into a vehicle and attempted to bring her to the hospital. However, the vehicle's tire was flat. As he was waiting for a second vehicle to take Long to the hospital, the police intervened. But she wasn't the only one to get hit. A bullet also grazed a 5-year-old boy during the shootout. He was treated and released at the scene. Unfortunately, the other victim, Muhammad, one of the people in the area during the shootout, was killed in the crossfire when a bullet traveled into his car across the street and entered his head. Though Golden's charges for the shooting itself were dismissed, he was found to be in the company of Ben Fields and Trelondrick Boomer Norman, which violated a particular condition of his probation. For this violation, the judge ordered him to spend 90 days in jail, banned him from performing for the next 14 months, and sentenced him to house arrest with electronic monitoring for the remainder of his probation. Around December 2019, the judge made a decision to terminate his probation. The judge said she had seen growth in the actions of NBA YoungBoy and agreed to let him off the hook. Drug charges. For a while, after his termination, NBA YoungBoy was out of trouble, although he was sentenced to a year of probation for the case that he had against his ex-girlfriend Jania. A case that started in 2018 when a hotel surveillance video circulated showing the rapper slamming Jania to the ground and dragging her into his hotel room. Later, NBA YoungBoy was indicted for aggravated assault and kidnapping, but he eventually pleaded guilty to misdemeanor, simple battery, family violence. The original charges were dropped. He's been sentenced to 12 months probation plus a fine of $1,500. The judge also made him attend anger management classes and have no violent contact with Jania. Up until late last year, or September 28, 2020, NBA YoungBoy had managed to stay under the radar until he was arrested along with 16 others while filming a music video in Baton Rouge on various charges, including distribution and manufacturing of drugs and possession of stolen firearms. There was no real story around the arrest or what charges would be brought forward against him. However, a lawyer for YoungBoy categorically said, "Kentrell, NBA YoungBoy, is not guilty of any crimes. There's nothing in the report that indicates that he did anything wrong. They arrested several people, and there was no indication that he had any guns or drugs on him at the time of the arrest. I ultimately believe he will be found innocent in all of this." A few months later, Baton Rouge police were ordered to return more than $40,000 in cash, a $300,000 cashier's check, and 2 diamond chains that were seized during the arrest. The rapper was eventually freed on a $75,000 bond. His most recent run-in with the law was on the 22nd of March 2021. The rapper was reportedly taken into custody after reportedly fleeing from Los Angeles police when they tried to pull his car over in connection with an outstanding federal warrant. Los Angeles officers reportedly found a firearm in his vehicle, though reports from news sources suggest that it was unclear if the gun belonged to the rapper. Following a short pursuit, NBA YoungBoy stopped the car and took off on foot as officers brought in a K9 unit to track him down. As news of his arrest surfaced, NBA YoungBoy deleted all of his social media, including his Instagram and Twitter, and went into ghost mode. The rapper has managed to successfully build his music career to a place where many artists in the industry respect his journey, but he also has street cred that screams, "Be careful." That brings us to the end of today's video. If you liked the video, please leave a like and a comment below. Also, if you're new to the channel, subscribe and hit the notification bell to be notified when we upload new content.